welcome back to the card pool. I'm, well, much in need of a haircut, Stu.
And I'm Kyle. Nice to see you all. Good to be back.
Yes, back in these fine waters. And today we're going to do a magic moment. And I have,
well,
you
thing that I can't see.
You can't see it because it's green, but I have a gift from my brother. We're going to be doing an unboxing today of a fat pack, aka a bundle, and it is Zendikar Rising, but this is the gift edition. I don't know what makes the gift edition more different.
Guess we're going to find out.
But it is a holographic box, which you might be able to see with that, which is kind of nifty.
A little bit.
So I'm going to go ahead and open some packs. We're going to have fun with it today. So it's all going to be a nice little mess of pleasantries.
All right, well, let's see what we got here. And I told Stu that he should take the plastic off first, but, you know, he's likes the drama.
I just got a paper cut.
I shouldn't be laughing at that. I'm sorry. But it was a little bit funny.
Oh, you might be holding a lot of these cards, actually, Kyle, for this
All right,
thing.
that's okay.
Man.
That's okay.
Oh, it's bleeding.
Ooh, let's look at that. So that's a nice little elf. I thought that was, well, it's kind of a box there. I mean, that's cool. I like that. That's handy little thing.
Honestly junk.
See, I was trying to make it cool, but all right.
Now that's cool, actually. The box itself is holographic.
We got this nice little picture here, too. It's it's Akiri on one side. Looks like, Party of Adventurers on the other side. I think it's fun.
Hey. They're here to see the cards. So we're going to open this thing up. I do like the foil box. I think that is
kind of nice.
All right, so now we have, so my brother requested, since we did do this, he actually wanted to see what the die looked like in the recording.
So let's look at that.
We get a little bit of a close-up. Yeah. We'll move it into the box.
Yeah, move it into our special close-up zone here.
So it is a cloudy gray.
Yeah, I kind of like that. That is nice.
So they've been doing a little bit better work with these. We've been seeing some of the clear ones. We've been seeing a little bit of intricate designs, a whole bunch of different stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But now,
pretty cool.
Let's go ahead and separate out these packs. So every one of these booster packs booster bundles goes ahead to give you some basic lands. So you get your whole pack of regular non-foil basic lands.
All right, well, it's always useful.
Then you go ahead and you get your little special pack, which is the foil pack with some preset cards and foil lands. We'll be cracking that at the very end.
All right.
Place it off to the side. Now this I was not expecting. We have our basic packs from Zendikar Rising, which we will split up for Kyle's pile, my pile.
Okay. Collector booster.
And there's a collector.
What is that?
I have no idea. I'm assuming it's the one that has the little symbol on the side. You know what I'm talking about? It has the Planeswalker symbol on the card.
Oh, yeah. No, you might be right.
I think it's that. So we'll save this one for the very end.
Yeah.
But right now we'll go ahead, we'll separate this out. How many packs you got there, Kyle?
All right, well, let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, man. I have 5.
And okay, good. I wanted the Jace ones anyway.
Okay. All right, so I'll start off with the first pack because it is mine. I'll start off with the old-fashioned Nissa. So let's go ahead and we'll crack these right on out of here. Not get any blood on them.
You really did get a paper cut.
I did get a paper cut. The dangers of YouTubing.
Yeah, try not to lean too much this way. You're cutting yourself off.
That's fine. I'm trying to make it so everyone else can see the cards. They're not looking at me. So, showcase card. Always pretty fun to get those. Cool. I'll throw it in there because I want to look at it later.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the uncommons. We'll list them off, and then we'll go ahead and count down to the rares. So our first one is Paired Tactician is the first uncommon that we have. Then we have Base Camp, actually, which is pretty decent.
Not
bad. We have
Akum Warrior.
Akum Warrior.
One of those flip land cards.
Maddening
Cacophony.
Cacophony from Jace. That's a rare, and we have a big old land with a flip card. So let's go ahead and we'll throw this into our spotlight spot.
Yeah, that's probably the one noteworthy thing we got in this pack. Maddening Cacophony. That's a cool card.
So Maddening Cacophony, it is a 2-drop sorcery, 1 generic, and a blue. And it has kicker, so we'll get to that part last. So each opponent mills 8 cards, and if this spell was kicked instead, each opponent mills half of their library instead rounded up. And the kicker in this one is 3 generic and a blue. So this is actually one of the cards that a lot of people were clamoring about because this is an instant win con with one of the commanders we saw from Jumpstart.
You might say it was a cacophony noise.
I don't know what that word means.
I mean, a big noise, a lot of noise. Deafening noise.
That's a horrible word for that, because an onomatopoeia sounds like it's a thing. But anyway, so that's a card that's really good for that. Great in mill decks because it's good early game, it's good late game, and it doesn't cost much to get that effect. So losing everyone's half a library, that's big.
Well, it is, and Traumatize is this a card for 5 mana that essentially mills 1 player for half of their deck. This, for just 1 more mana, essentially mills all your opponents for half their deck, which is pretty awesome in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty A-okay. So I'm solid. I'm glad I had it. So, and shout out to my brother Evan. Thank you for making it so I got this card.
All right,
So
guess
Kyle,
it's my turn, right?
It is your turn.
All right, let's see here. Got my boy Jace here.
For our boy Jace.
All right, now let's see here. Let's see in the spotlight spot here. I got Tormenting Voice, Shell Shield.
Get to the uncommons, Kyle. No one cares about the commons.
Sometimes you get a good comment or two. Let's see here. So, Core Blade Master. And Skyclave Pickaxe, all right. Umara Wizard. And, ooh, Skyclave Relic. I like this one.
That's actually pretty decent.
That's cool. Let's talk about that one.
Full borderland. All right, so we'll throw that one on our spotlight spot.
All right, so Skyclave Relic is an artifact that costs 3 generic to play, also has kicker. We'll get to that in a second. It's indestructible, and when Skyclave Relic enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tapped tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. The kicker, of course, being an additional 3 in this case.
We didn't even say what kicker is, actually. So
right.
Kicker, in the first case, kicker is an additional cost in addition to the additional mana of the additions of additions of additions to make it so you get extra effects.
Kicker, you pay kicker, you get extra effects from the card. In this case, you can either pay 3 mana to get an indestructible mana rock, or you can pay 6 mana to get 3 indestructible mana rocks.
That's good math right there for you to figure out you are getting a deal.
Well, and everybody knows Darksteel Ingot as kind of one of the long-time staples of Commander. So this is basically a Darksteel Ingot with plenty of upside, really, because not only are you potentially getting 3 mana for a return of 6 if you do that, but remember, this creates tokens, and tokens are doubleable and abusable in all sorts of ways. So imagine if you have just a Parallel Lives out when you play this. For 6 mana, you're essentially then getting 6 mana.
Yeah.
It's tapped, unfortunately, but hey, that's still an amazing investment.
And again, you can also do other things later to go ahead and make it so you have, we don't have Proliferate, but we have Populate as a mechanic that tokens love to go ahead and use as well. So you can go ahead and use that effect for something like this, and it's great,
exactly.
and it's solid, and it's a decent card, especially if it's going to replace a staple of old-time Magic.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with something like that.
I'm actually wrong about that math. 6 mana for 5 mana, because there's only 1 original card. Right.
Yeah,
I can do math.
Say it
all right, you go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to be going to my boy Jace over here as well. Do you want to do the buzzer for him?
All right.
I guess not. No, that's going to be, 100% that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fly through the commons real quick for us. Okay, we got a Dreadworm. So landfall is becoming more and more relevant, actually, so I don't mind having a showcase one of them. All right, so in our uncommons, we have Skyclave Shadowcat.
I thought that was one of the X-Men.
You know, it could be.
Yeah.
We have a Relic Vial, decent. Cinder Chasm. Chasm or
Chasm?
Hey!
Oh, and halfway land. Yeah.
And a foil. Okay, all right, so we're going to put those over here. We'll take these in for
Let's talk about the foil first.
All right, let's go ahead into our spotlight.
So, unfortunately, it's not like an amazing foil.
Well, you can't just throw ahead and say that. You gotta be throwing it out there.
Spoils of Adventure. So it is a blue-white card, costs 6 mana to play, an instant. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. So for those who are new to Zendikar Rising, the party mechanic requires you to have clerics, warriors, rogues, and wizards in play. So for each one that's in play, it costs 1 less. It could potentially cost only 2 mana. You gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. For 2 mana, that is a pretty decent deal.
And even if it isn't like going to get the full reduction, getting some. So this could work in some tribal strategies for merfolks, wizards, and anything kind of
it absolutely
clerics.
Yeah.
Or if anything just happens to be like, it has a creature type that just works for this, like sure, say Changeling, everything gets reduced.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of, just gain life and draw cards, but hey, it's not bad.
It's a very Azorius effect. But for the other card, we have a land, and I'm going to hover it right here for a second. So what this is, these are the notorious flip lands. People got real excited because it's kind of like a budget version of dual lands. However, the only downside to this is that you choose which side you want it to be when you play it. So I can either make this enter the field as an island or a swamp. Now, while it's in the deck, it is considered to be an island, and in the graveyard, it is considered to be an island for all intents and purposes. But so if I ever wanted to make it a swamp, the only time for me to really go ahead and do that is when it's in my hand to play it as a swamp.
And these pathway lands are decent. I mean, it's kind of the same as just having either one of those basic lands in your deck. I mean, it doesn't have a basic land type, so it's not searchable by some of those cards that can, search out basics that aren't really basics.
Yeah.
However, it's still not bad. It comes into play untapped, so hey, yeah, that's good just on its own.
The only thing I don't know is if you Crucible Worlds it, do you get to choose which side it is?
I'm pretty sure you could choose which side it was.
Which means you probably can, everyone out there. But if you do know, let us know for the rules down below in a comment, because neither of us are aficionados as judges for this kind of stuff. But we will find out as we play the game.
Right,
but
I'll go ahead, I guess.
And also, if you did crack packs from this, what was the greatest pull you pulled? And don't lie to us, because everyone's going to be like, oh, I pulled the most expensive card, foil, full art, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah.
All right, let's see here. So we have some commons here.
Make it so they can see it, though.
Blah, blah, blah. I think they can see it.
No, they cannot.
Let's see here. Okay, Demon's Disciple. That's cool. I like that. Thundering Spark Mage. All right, whatever. Skyclave Cleric. Okay.
I'll make it so they can see it.
All right. Ooh, Zarathson the Trickster. I like that. And we got some full art Forest, which is also very cool.
All right, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about this guy. So Zarathson is one of the legendary creatures, the party creatures of Zendikar Rising. So he is a Merfolk Rogue legend, costs 5 mana to play, so that's 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black. Has flash, and he's a 4/4, so that's already not bad, which means you can play him at instant speed. So I'm going to go with the second ability first. Whenever Zarathson deals combat damage to a player, you can put target permanent card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control.
All right, that was weird.
That was weird. Okay, sorry.
So go on. What
anyway,
is it? Mr. Zarathson?
Zarathson, yes. So Zarathson the Trickster is a 5-drop creature, 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, a 4/4 Merfolk Rogue. Has flash, which means can be played at instant speed. When Zarathson deals combat damage to a player, you can put target permanent card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Exactly. Also, there is another ability here, which is for 2 colorless, 1 blue, and 1 black. You can return an unblocked attacking rogue you control to its owner's hand and put Zarathson into play, tapped and attacking. So
it's like ninjutsu.
Yeah, exactly. For those of you who know Magic very well, this is essentially a new version of the ninjutsu mechanic from Kamigawa for specifically rogues. And it makes the card that much better even, because then you can just sneak in that damage without people knowing it's coming and steal whatever the best thing is from your opponent's graveyard.
Well, not only that, rogues already are pretty evasive, or they have death touch, or they have fear, or something.
And they mill people.
They mill people.
Perfect combination.
And also, we have Rogue's Passage. So if you want to say it is a rogue card per se, you could. But I mean, there's tons of ways to make this guy unblockable. You could make this as a commander. It's meant to be a commander. It can be also Merfolk-esque.
I would debate the fact that it's supposed to be a commander. I mean, I feel like, well, notably, its ninjutsu only works if it's from your hand. So it does not work from the command zone like Yuriko.
Yes.
That's very unfortunate.
Yes, but it's in black, which means...
more mana, I guess.
No. There's an artifact that makes it so that you can go ahead and put it into your hand, which exists in black.
I think those cards are dumb, and you know that.
Yes, but does it mean it makes this guy any less playable for that regard? You have to go through some hoops, sure, but also it is an awesome card for what it can do, and I think it is a commander.
I don't think so, but it's definitely a card that should be in your Rogue Tribal deck. It's one of the better ones.
Vote. Vote. Just let us know if you agree with one of us.
I think it's your turn to open up a pack, still.
Well, you take out the spotlight if you would be so inclined. If you'd be so Calvin-inclined, Kyle. All right. Well, we'll fly through these commons. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. How many looks to the center of Tootsie Pop, Kyle? How many are you saying? 5, 6, 7, 8.
No, 9. Okay.
9! A German no right there, my good friend. All right, so the first card we have is Ruin Crab, which is kind of a look back at Hedron Crab when
it's
they
got
made
this
this
better,
one.
yeah.
Then we go ahead and we have Mara Mystic.
Okay.
Then we have one of the flip cards. I gotta lower this, I'm sorry, I can't read it. Makindi Stampede.
Yeah.
That sounds like a drink. And a rare... Inscription of Abundance.
Yeah.
Now we'll go ahead. Wow! All right, we'll do the foil first by law.
I think it's just a.
Doesn't matter. It is a Hagrid.
Hagrid.
Hagrid. The Tagaris, guys, from Harry Potter. It's a Hydra Constrictor. It is a snake with 3 mana, 2 generic, and a swamp, and enters it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters, and each creature you control with a 1/1 counter has menace.
That's interesting. There are plenty of those kind of creatures that have, like each creature with a counter on it has X ability. If you could make, if you could put enough of them in a deck to make like a critical mass of those abilities, it makes for a pretty intimidating field. So I do like that.
Oh, I 100% agree. And yeah, for a common of that kind of caliber, it's not bad.
Yeah, it really isn't.
A 2/2 for 3, but a global effect like that, it really isn't horrible.
Yeah. This card, Inscription of Abundance.
So right here, this is a 2-drop instant, 1 generic, and a forest, and it has a kicker cost of 3/1, 2 generic, and a forest. And what it is pretty much for each time you pay kicker, you're going to add on an extra one of these modal abilities, and there are 3 of them. The first one being that you're going to go ahead and put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. The second being, target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control. And the third being, target creature you control fights target creature you do not control. So it's a modal card, which means it has certain values over other cards because you can go ahead and use some effects where you would typically need 3 cards to have a variety of these. So this can work in a variety of decks, or if one deck is very narrow with certain things, it gives it more versatility. Like if you are a deck that cares all about counters, well, you have something in here to do counters and something more with those counters, which is unique.
Yeah, they made this cycle of cards, and actually it's an incomplete cycle because there's only a green, a blue, and a black inscription. There are no white or red ones, which is kind of weird in and of itself.
Boros, the
whatever.
hate is real.
But this is actually probably the best of that cycle of 3. However, it's still not amazing.
Yeah, because it costs a lot of mana to get all 3. It's
I mean,
7.
2 mana for any of these abilities is decent. But no, you remember, if you kick it, you can choose any number of those. So for 5, you could do all 3 of them.
I thought you had to be kicked each time.
No. It says you choose any number if you just kick it once.
All right, so for 5, that's not as bad. I was thinking it was 8.
But still, not super great. I mean, so a creature gets bigger. The fighting is the best part of the card. That's removal.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
green,
really good.
It's not as common to have removal. Typically, fight is the only way.
The pump goes along with that very nicely. Instant speed makes this even better. The life gain one is kind of irrelevant and nobody cares.
Well, you can make it so it is target player, so you could go ahead and flip it if it's a life drain. If they gain life, they lose it or something like that.
Right.
This could work for that, but that's typically black-white.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't really see it there.
Yeah, but it's like I said, the best one of these inscription cards. However, it's still no command or a confluence or anything like that.
Those are on another level, and even still, you don't see all of them play. There's a select few of them that are really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So Kyle, your pack.
All right. So now we can, so it's my turn to open a pack.
It is your turn, Kyle.
All right, let's go ahead. All right, we got Nahiri here.
Put in front of you.
Villains are always interesting, so let's see here. Okay, so what have we got here? Everybody can see there.
Commons,
we got
commons.
Hey, some of these commons are pretty good, I'll have you know.
Commons.
No, nothing
This
there
isn't
really.
We're not opening prophecy.
Okay, we got another Demon's Disciple. That's a fun card. Another Thundering Spark Mage. This looks very similar. Vastwood Fortification. All right, whatever. Ooh, Forsaken Monument. That's nice. Yeah, that definitely deserves a buzzer. And we got a foil Akum Hellhound, which, it's whatever.
And a big box mountain.
So we want to talk about that?
Yes, we want to talk about
whatever.
An H-word hound.
Well, you go ahead and talk about that one, because I want to talk about this one.
All right, well, stop putting your grubby paws all over it, Cal.
Yeah.
All right. Although I am the one bleeding. All right, so this is a something hound. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +2/2 until the end of the turn. It is a 0/1 for 1. That's all I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's an elemental dog, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, now that dog is a creature type, it's fun,
Yeah. They got rid of hound and made it so it's dog now, which is kind of cool. But let's go ahead and put out our Forsaken Monument.
Now, this is a really cool card. One of the better ones in the set, really.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, it's a legendary artifact. Costs 5 mana. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for colorless mana, you add an additional colorless mana. And then whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. I love this card.
I love Lamp.
And so it's like a combination of, you know, a Caged Sun, an Eldrazi Monument, and then, I don't know, something that gains you life. Because it does all of these things in one, and obviously it's a nod to Eldrazi decks.
100%.
But there are a lot of other places like artifact-based decks, which there are many more of nowadays, that can be, you know, it can be very good there too.
Yeah.
So
Back
it does
in the day,
all of that for 5 mana.
Mono Brown, which was the archetype for artifact cards, this would be a home for Mono Brown decks.
Yeah, there's plenty of options for colorless commanders nowadays that are actually kind of decent.
Well, not even like new. Well, sure, Hope a Geiper you end up seeing as one, which is kind of interesting. But even old school Karn.
Yeah, that was the original.
That was kind of like the OG for that. And again, this is something that's so good because it does everything you need in colorless. You need the ramp, you need the life gain because you're gonna get hit in the face so much. And like the boost, if you're using Eldrazi, does the boost matter? No. But if you're doing little kind of trinket tokens, like if you're using golems or something like that, this is something that can go ahead and propel you out into having like, all right, I have a more substantial thing. These mirrors are bigger.
Now, this card is just so absurd. I would pay 5 mana just for the mana part of it alone, and it has 2 other abilities. So it's kind of crazy to me.
Well, give
value.
me 5 mana, Kyle, and it's all yours.
Yeah, right. But then that's actually a money card from this set, sort of.
Yep.
Sort of.
Yeah, this one has taken a little bit of a dive since then, but again, once this set goes out away and gets long forgotten for a little bit, people are like, yo, I kind of need this with this new commander.
I definitely think it has long-term potential.
100%. So I'm going to go ahead and open and crack this pack right here. All right, I am struggling with all this, but either way.
You want me to help you there?
We have safety scissors. There it is. All right. Boom, badoom. All right. Commons are going to go. All right. So, yeah, and that was one thing I did like about the set. We had colored artifacts.
Yeah.
We are slowly starting to see more of that,
Very
which is
cool.
honestly something that Wizards needs to do to even out artifacts. So now we are in the uncommons. We have
Concerted Defense.
That one.
Yeah.
We have...
Omar Mystic again.
I'm going to just do Popcorn. Popcorn.
Tangled Florahedron.
Nope, that's not how you say it.
Yeah.
And then Legion Angel.
All
right. Followed by a full art mount and an insect.
That's like the most disappointing rare you could possibly get.
Wow,
it's not relevant in
thank
Commander.
you, Kyle, for nothing there.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's true.
Legion Angel, it's a 4-drop creature, 2 generic and double white for an Angel Warrior as flying in a 4/3 body. And when Legion Angel enters the battlefield, you may reveal a card from your hand named Legion Angel from outside the game and put it into your hand. From outside the game, Kyle, you can use this in Commander.
No, you can't. Unfortunately, you can't. That's
It's
not the way it
outside
works.
the game.
Yeah, but that's only the sideboard. So you would have to have a sideboard with
Which
like
you couldn't
3 more
have.
of these. Well, you can, but
So you can use it.
Most people don't. So, and besides, are you really going to just do that for having a couple like 4-power flyers? Probably not.
Depends on what you were trying to do with your deck, in all honesty. Because, like, if you think about that, all right, being able to have some other things out there with the same name, like we see that with like 7 Dwarves, we see it with Relentless Rats. There are certain cards that care about having the name on cards
and
to have
nobody plays them because they're completely irrelevant.
But now we can have more fun playing them because we'd have technically, what is it? White, red, black. Those are the colors that have cards that have.
No, blue has it too. The Persistent Petitioners. Don't forget that.
I forgot about it. All right, so we'll go on to our next pack.
Unfortunate.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. You're really selling the cards. I guess it's.
All right.
Yeah.
See, that's the noise I would give it. All right, let's see here. So we got the commons here. You know, there we go. So we got these commons here. You can see those if you want. Yeah.
If you want, we're
whatever.
showing it to them. They have to see it.
Let's see. Okay, so we got Merfolks. We got Merfolk Falconer. Got Marasa Root Grazer. That's an interesting kind of card there. Song Mad Treachery. All right. Ooh, okay. Taberax, Hope's Demise.
I thought you were going to
That's
say
an
Tabernacle.
interesting rare.
Like, no, it is not.
So this one is another one of those party-type rares that depends on one of the 4 creature types that are focused on in Zendikar Rising. So Taberax here is a 2/2 flying demon cleric for 3 mana, 2 colorless and 1 black. When Taberax has lifelink, as long as you have 5 or more +1/+1 counters on him, then whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. If that creature was a cleric, you can also draw a card and lose 1 life. Not obviously the strongest entry in the mono black commander suite, if indeed you are looking for one.
Yeah.
However, It is a decent card, you know, especially if you're doing Cleric Tribal, which honestly has gotten very good since Zendikar Rising came out. This is one of the better cards, obviously. Drawing cards, making a big life-linking flyer, sounds pretty good.
But you usually need white paired with it to
make
really
it
make
needs
it
to be
shine.
white-black.
So this is something that you could shine into one of those kind of like death and tax decks or something like that if you're going for some sort of build with that. It could work with it. And again, Changelings, we're seeing more of them with the future set to come, actually, with, I can't pronounce the name, Kaldheim.
Kaldheim.
Kaldheim. So we are seeing, again, more Changelings. So the ability to have, like, clerics, sure, this is a cleric, this is an elemental, etc., etc. So those, we're getting a little bit more fodder for these kind of things.
Yeah, they're just going to keep getting better. So it's nice to see those kind of, open-ended tribal legends.
All right, well, I'm cracking my final pack, so I think so far you might have...
I think I've had the better luck here so far.
I don't know. I have that Jace card, by the way, so just to go ahead and fling that back at you. All right, common chameleon. All right, uncommon, a Maria Captain.
All right.
Royal Regrowth.
That's a cool card.
I'm actually pretty stoked about that
That's
one.
one of the better ones.
Something ambush.
Ambush.
That's not that word.
Ooh, I want to talk about this.
Tagaris, Thief
of
of Heartbeats. And then Swamp.
Yeah.
All right, so Tagaris, Thief of Heartbeats. So right here we have a 6-drop legendary creature that's a vampire rogue with a 4/4 body, and it costs 4 generic, a swamp, and a mountain. And it reads, this spell costs 1 less for each creature in your party, which we have seen over and over again.
Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard.
And it has flying, death touch, and haste. So right there, that's pretty decent.
Very nice.
On the other side, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker.
And you forgot the most important part. All other creatures you control also have death touch.
I was getting to that last, Kyle, but yeah, okay, sure. So right here, this is actually decent for Commander because it has so many things tapped onto it. And you don't even have to use a full party for this guy to necessarily be like using this to its full potential. Sure, yeah, throw wizards in here, whatever, if you want to do all that other stuff. But you don't need to, and it's still a decent functioning commander.
I won't lie, I have been possibly exploring building a deck around this guy.
Liar.
Just because of the whole, giving all your creatures death touch thing. It doesn't sound like it might be, amazing at first, but then when you consider in black and or red, all the little creatures that are like tapped to ping something for damage, this gets really dumb really quickly.
It kills stuff real fast. And also to note, if something has trample and death touch, it only needs to deal 1 damage to that creature, and then the excess falls over into damage.
That's true.
Which is pretty wild. And I didn't know that but before. So shout out to one of our patrons in the comments. Not patrons, a fellow happy person who loves to watch our stuff.
But the fact that this costs, it costs 6 mana is a little bit of a turnoff, but it can cost less. So that's good. However,
we don't have patrons.
Right. I worry about this, it's, over the course of the game getting too expensive to play, even without, even with party helping out. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not this is playable. But
well, again, you're in Rakdos, and Rakdos is all about its ritual spells. So we have our Dark Ritual, we have our Mana Geyser, and you have a whole bunch of different weird ones in red that you can go ahead and throw it in there. Again, Cabal Coffers, Crypt Gas, Urborg, all that kind of fun stuff to go with that as well. So there's ways to go ahead and make this guy come out, and it doesn't really affect you in a huge, huge way. But it is interesting how you have a way of avoiding the command tax. And that's what kind of really makes this card shine.
I'm also not a huge fan of just general, plus whatever anthems.
Death Touch is
They can
decent.
be good, but a lot of the time they're kind of irrelevant. Giving all your creatures a great keyword like Death Touch, though, that's dangerous.
Yeah, you don't need evasion with Death Touch because it is evasion.
Yeah, it's going to make people really think twice about blocking you. And like I said, it combos very, very well with some of those little pinging creatures, which is how I would build this deck if I were to build it.
The only thing that'd be a weakness is if you're playing with an indestructible deck, like, all right, they're going ahead and playing Darksteel Forge. Well, yeah, you're going to have a problem no matter what you're playing.
Shadow Spear says hi. Indestructible is not
yeah,
a problem
yeah,
anymore.
I get it. There's ways around it, but I'm just saying that's one of the few things that stops Death Touch. And again, if that's one of the few things, there's not much else. And that's a pretty strong keyword right there.
Definitely.
All right, so your last pack, Kyle, what do we got going on?
Well, let's see here.
Crack it for him.
All right. Yeah, there we go. All right. Get rid of that right there. All right, so what do we got? We got a negate, some other commons, blah, blah, blah.
This is kind of where I wish I had elevator music.
And, okay, so we got some uncommons here. We got Kitesail Cleric, another base camp. Okay, sure.
Which I do enjoy as a card.
Palaka Predation, not a bad flip card.
I'm so glad you got that.
Confounding Conundrum. And we got a copy token. That's cool.
Those are actually
And
pretty useful right now throughout the game.
So this, I'll go ahead and take Zagras out of there. So we've got this card, Confounding Conundrum. So this is an interesting sort of card. It costs 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 blue. It's a blue enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, so it replaces itself. That's cool. When a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, exactly. If that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand. So this is a landfall hoser.
Well, actually, it makes it so that you could play certain kind of land playing cards that there's typically a minus for. So if you think about it, what are those cards? Rites of Flourishing is usually a very strong, powerful card in green, but the problem is that it's a global effect, and you usually only see that in group hug decks. This is something that makes it so, like, all right, they're not getting that extra land drop, only you are. Sure, they might get a land drop trigger, which can be like decent for them. Like, sure, you could be promoting them to something, but this kind of makes it so it's slowing that down. And again, that's a very specific deck type to be playing against.
But there are cards like Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter that give you, your opponent's lands also that are maybe more commonly played that this can also work around. This is kind of one of those cards that it's like, it's a sideboard card. This is not meant to be a main deck card. However, in some cases, depending on who you play with, I suppose, it could be. Because people who play lots of Azusas and Explorers and all that, they're going to be really sad when they see this card.
So this is what, well, make sure I read it right. Yeah, they had it enter, so they don't have to necessarily play it for their thing. So if you go ahead and you Ghost Quarter them...
Right, if they already played a land, they don't have to bounce one of their own lands.
If you do that before they play their land, whatever they play instantly gets returned back.
Right, if they still decide to play it.
But you can't do that in response because playing a land does not use the stack.
Right, but that makes them think twice about playing another land that turn. So, it could potentially still work.
Yeah, it's a good way to make it so... We see this in blue. It's like, all right, your land enters tapped. Being able to make it so that it takes them more turns to stay up with you. So being able to return their lands puts them back a turn. Sure, they might get the mana for that turn, but the next turn their cap is stopped. And it's going to hurt them continuously. So for a 2-drop, now this isn't something that costs 5 or 6 mana, which I think old school Wizards would have made.
2, which is pretty good.
Yeah, so this is decent. And again, if you're playing against anyone who uses green, this is a great hoser on green.
Very, very niche, but good card. Glad to have it. Very interesting.
Yeah, so real quick, we'll go ahead and fan out our plunder for today. So we saw our Confounding Conundrum, Zagras,
Taberax.
I'm just going to have you read them.
Legion Angel. We also got Forsaken Monument, Akuma Hellhound, nice foil there. Inscription of Abundance, Zarathson the Trickster, and a foil Hagra Constrictor. Spoils of Adventure, another cool looking foil. Skyclave Relic, very cool card. One of the Pathway lands, blue-black, and Maddening Cacophony. So, unfortunately, I don't think we pulled any big money, but we did pull some pretty cool things.
We pulled some pretty solid pulls, and I'm pretty stoked about them. And that land's definitely going into a deck right away. All right, and we forgot to open 2 things. So that's very us. We're having technical difficulties, and everything is everywhere. So real fast, the last things that we are going to open for this are... It is going to be the collector's pack and our...
foil pack or whatever it is.
So I will give you this one, Kai.
All right, thank you.
I've had so many problems with packs.
That's
this is all going to be onto you.
Let's go ahead and open that up.
Let's put that underneath the camera.
Yeah, so everybody can see here what we're opening up. All right. So we have the big foil on top, of course, is Taberax, the Raging Isle. I guess we'll probably talk about that in a second, but we've also got some nice foil basic lands. I think that might be all this is.
All right.
Just the foil basic lands. But let's talk about this card for 1 second. Taberax, the Raging Isle. This has kind of become something of like a meme in the Magic community, so we might as well talk about it. It's a legendary Leviathan crab. Costs 2 mana and 2 blue, 2 colorless and 2 blue, so it's a 4 mana creature. 0/17. Yes, you read that right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
17 toughness. Spells your opponent's cast that target Taberax cost 2 more to cast. Also, you can tap 3 to give Charax +X -X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control. So, if you were looking for a mono blue Voltron commander, I guess this is what you've been waiting for?
Well, this is good because I've actually been wanting to have blue touch on Leviathans, like the big sea monsters, for quite some time. And this is technically something for them. And the problem with making a tribal deck for that is they're all high-costed creatures.
That's true. This one is not.
This is not, and it still makes an impact when it drops. Now, this is a quote-unquote defender that can become a better defender later on in the game, because you can make it so it can go aggro for you. It makes it so you're not really going to get attacked by something because it's probably going to die.
17 toughness is like the most toughness I've ever seen on a creature. So
well, just flat out comes into play. Plum 17. Bam. But moving on to our final pack, we'll go ahead and do a little non-drum roll because that'll mess up the microphones. Hey, there we go. Thank you, Jay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and that's a foil token.
Ooh,
I have not seen a foil token before. All right, so we have a Hydra. I better not bleed on this.
Oh, that's cool.
Foil Hydra.
Oh, so the other cards.
And a foil kitty. Oh nice. I'm so happy right there. Hail Hydra.
All right, so nice. What else have we got here?
What? What? All right, so that's a spoil right there, but is it really a spoil? All right, so this is probably what makes it the gift set. All right.
Foil. Okay.
You read it off because I'm not gonna be able to read it.
All right. Seafloor, Stalker, whatever. Resolute Strike. Okay.
So everything's foil.
Expedition Skulker, Nahiri's Binding. I'll stop you if something is really cool. Nissa Zendikar. Relic Axe, whatever. Akum Warrior, there's a flip land card. Another foil island.
But full.
Ooh, Oran Reef Ooze. Let's put that one aside. We could talk about that one. That's kind of
they're all full. I'm flipping them down.
All right.
They're all foils. We're going to throw them out here.
All right, so Oran Reef Ooze. Do we want to just go ahead and talk about this one first?
Well, yeah, because you said we have to.
All right, well, this one, it's a 2/2 for 3 mana, 2 colorless, 1 green. It's an Ooze. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. When it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it.
So this is good because
it's pretty much a smaller, less scary version of Colonian Hydra, which I think everyone remembers is a very, very good card.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, it's smaller, and it's obviously not quite that powerful because it's not giant, and it doesn't have trample, and it doesn't double everything. However, this is a more modest inclusion to the +1/+1 counter tribal deck, and honestly, I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, because it comes into play with a base power and toughness. Usually most of them do not. So you get the leisure of putting this counter on any other target.
And it could be itself, so it could be a 3/3 for 3. And then as soon as it attacks, it becomes a 4/3. And that's just on its, 4/4, and that's just on its own.
So and also, who's to say, like, you don't already have creatures out there that have counters on them? This effect goes with stuff that it doesn't have to have just specifically this counter. If it has a +1 counter, it's growing. And that's the great thing about this. Usually you see them in enchantments, which they don't do anything on their own. Or it's a creature where it doubles the counters, but again, it doesn't do anything on its own. This goes ahead and puts a counter on there, and it can do the work. So this is a pretty solid card. And again, it's borderless, so bam. This is a pretty sick pack right here.
Yeah, well, what else have we got?
All
Let's
right.
see here.
So let's go ahead and pull over.
Archpriest of Iona. We can pull that aside, I guess. That's a rare. You know, we might as well talk about that. But
might as well. Don't just go ahead and do that. All right, let's go through it, because I don't know how many rares and whatever in this thing. You're reading. There's a lot of words.
All right. Well, Archpriest of Iona, it's a 1-drop white human cleric, and it's got a star 2, so 2 toughness. The power is yet to be determined. The Archpriest of Iona's power is equal to the number of creatures in your party.
Which we've touched on.
Yeah, rogue, warrior, wizard, cleric. So at max, this could be a 4/2 for 1 mana.
Which is not bad.
Well, and it's automatically a 1/2. So
Can we say that more sync? That'd be great.
At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. So, yeah, you have to have all 4 of those creature types in play, and yes, it is one of those on its own. So this is not particularly great on its own, you know. It's like one of those full party creatures that you need to fulfill that very specific condition. And when are you ever going to do that?
Well, it's still a decent 1-drop. Like, it's as good of a 1-drop as Sarah's Ascendant. No. But depending on how you're going and building this out, it could be something that's decent. Like, sure, a 2/2 for 1 with this effect not horrible.
It's okay, I guess. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. It's just, it's okay. That's
However,
really all
they're
there
in
is.
white. There is the Captain of Eos, who does tutor for 1-drop creatures. So
You mean Ranger of Eos?
well,
That's
there's
the original
there's
one.
like 3 of them
There's a
that
couple
do
of
that.
them, yeah.
So this is something to note for that card if you're looking for more targets that are
Yeah.
1-drops. But moving on to the next card
what
within
else
this
have we
pack.
got?
This is a solid pack. I can see why someone would get the
Yeah.
gift edition now. This makes sense.
Spitfire Lagak. That's all right. So what else we got here? Kazandu Nectar Pot. Interesting. Okay. Oh, it's a full art pathway. That's cool.
Yeah.
The red-blue pathway. That's cool.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And
What
lastly,
else we got?
not
Fearless Fledgling. Okay, another landfall type creature. Ah, Throne of McKindy. That's an interesting card. Might as well talk about it real quick because it is the last card we have
You would
here.
make a great tour guide. And on our right, if you see Throne of McKindy, real fast, we'll stop the caravan and everyone can take the picture.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this one, it's a land that comes in untapped, which means you can tap it immediately for 1 colorless, or you can tap 1 mana and put a charge counter on it. Then, a 3rd tap ability, remove a charge counter from the throne to add 2 mana of any 1 color, but only to cast spells that are kicked. So this is the kicker land.
It is the kicker land, and boy, does it kick you if you're not using it.
Yeah, and kicker it's actually gotten more support over the years.
It needs more.
So far, there are 2 specific commanders, including one from this set, that actually support kicker spells.
Which is good for, this is a land that's for that particular deck. Yes.
Unfortunately, neither of them are what I would call super powerful commander options, just because kicker is such a limited pool of cards.
Well, if you're going to say that, what is a super powerful commander option?
Well, I'm sure we could go on a list of that forever.
He's speechless, folks.
Is it? So is this particularly useful? I mean, even within a kicker-based deck, I don't know. I mean, maybe you'd use it, maybe you wouldn't.
Well, I would use it for proliferate, just because of the whole idea of putting the counter on there, getting 2 mana. As long as you have 1 counter on there, you can keep propelling it to go ahead and get 2 mana. But again, I don't know how relevant that is doing 2 themes, kicker and proliferate. The more you start to diverge from one theme of a deck, the harder it is to make it so it's consistent. But again, cool land. If we get more support for it, this will be a card that is definitely going to be in those as a staple.
For sure. Could be worth more money than it is at some point. Who knows?
Hey, foil rare is never bad, especially if it's a full art land. So I'll take it. And so that is going to wrap up the very last of this again. We hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. So thank you for coming along on our little adventure.
Well, that was fun, Stu. Thanks for letting us do that.
And thank you, Evan, for making it so I could celebrate my Christmas gifts with everyone on the interwebs. So until next time, we'll tell you where you can find us on all of our social media places. We are on Reddit. We are on Tapped Out with our own decks. You can find us on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook and Twitter at the handle The Card Pool. You can find us under that almost anywhere. So, without further ado, I guess let's say goodbye for now. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Stu. And we'll see you next time at the Card Pool.
That went well, don't you think? It was pretty fun.
Yeah, and actually, honestly, I've been thinking about making something with landfall, so this is going to be good keeps.
All right.
We can't see ourselves.
Oh, well, I can.
Yeah, so 3, 2, 1, we're going to be like, whoa, that was weird. Just do that, ready?
All right.
To practice it. Whoa, that was weird.
Okay.
Three, 2, 1, half, 7.
Hold on.
Do you need to?
Yeah.
Nah.
Okay, go ahead.
Start talking, we'll keep moving.
So this is not particular.